Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament 2020 match here on the Go Mode Podcast Twitch channel. This is the 3-2 bracket, our 3-2 pairing here of Ehseezed and WGarrison. This is round number 6. We are going Mentorless, and we're just about the middle point of this week. We are playing open mode, and I'm Professor Rando, and joining me in the commentary booth is dannymusic. How are you doing today?
Hello, Professor Render. I'm doing very well. Looking forward to seeing some great runners execute as well as they possibly can, and looking forward to a really nice, competitive, fun race.
I am looking forward to this race as well, and this is the final Swiss round here here on the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament 2020. We are running some pretty interesting seeds. Over on Ehseezed side, we got Luigi, and then we have WGarrison running the Modern Link sprites.
Very cool. I like Luigi's dance move in the sprite there.
I'm more of a hack kit person, but I can really appreciate the sprites used in this one. Luigi's very much expressive in this sprite.
Yeah. All right. So we're seeing a bunch of shovels in the code. Let's see if that ends up coming into play in the game. Right now we have the Bloomerang, both of which are starting at Link's house. Quick map check from WGarrison. We have a blue pendant in Eastern, green pendant on Hera, and then a crystal in Desert.
And Ehseezed and WGarrison, of course, doing the Uncle start, so we're going to get a tree pull here. The Tier 1 tree pull, and there's a bunch of bombs, which is a very nice find.
Yeah.
If they so choose, they could pop, if they can get more if they could probably get more bombs, they could probably attempt a bomb start.
That'd be really interesting, but regardless, even if they don't do that, then they'll have enough bombs for Kakariko. The Uncle giving the red meringue right away, so far the first 2 chests in the game are both boomerangs.
And we did see another pack of bombs in the chest south of the Uncle, so Ehseezed just going to save and quit out of there, as well as WGarrison. And it does make sense if both players decided to go and have the Sanctuary here, which is another pack of bombs.
Nice.
They're probably not comfortable with doing the bomb start, especially when you got to consider too, dannymusic, that they are going mentorless. So something like that would need a bit more mentoring if they so chose.
Yeah, the bomb strat going to Zelda Cell without the need to defeat Keyrat right away makes that a little bit more tempting, but I can totally understand taking the bombs that you have, and we also see Ehseezed pull bombs from the tree outside of Death Mountain. I can understand wanting to take those bombs to Kakariko and get all those items instead. So Ehseezed going to look at the Aghanim item. Aghanim item is 10 arrows. Is Aghanim required? We still don't know yet.
Yeah, but for all intents and purposes, we're not going to kill Aga just for 10 arrows. Getting our sync here, as we now are probably synced up. We got 10 arrows in the drop down, as well as the heart container in the mushroom spot.
All right, so both of our runners are going to be making their way to Kakariko for the treasure trove that is there.
Considering too, when you have the tier 1 pull being bombs, it's very, very much nice to have that just early on.
Yeah, even if they don't find a weapon before it becomes necessary to deal with such things as Mini Moldorm Cave, having a reliable source to get bombs whenever makes that a bit more friendly to do.
So as we come into the well here, I'm just falling back to my backup stream here. I'll be a little bit delayed here, so we find so far not a whole lot. All right, now we're back up line,
Oh,
but
okay.
all right, now we're back up line. Have my full stream. So
We did.
and that was in the blind cell, and well, well, ignore that. We found both males right out of the gates. It's very nice to find that this early on.
A nice flute find in the well there. That'll help make getting around easy, and it's easy to activate the flute right in Kakariko itself.
And now that bird did come online here for WGarrison and equally Ehseezed. Still looking to find a few more rupees to get to pay off the bottle vendor, so they're gonna leave that alone for now. Chicken
Moon
Hut has
Pearl.
the Moon Pearl.
So still looking for at least 2 more items to get into the Dark World, but the flute will definitely be a nice thing to help them get around. And we got the mushroom in the back of the tavern.
Ehseezed actually gonna run back to Blind's hut and actually gonna farm up some rupees to pay out the bottle vendor. This is something I like from Ehseezed compared to what WGarrison did. So just instead of leaving the bottle vendor alone, Ehseezed said, "Okay, we're just about close to getting rupees, so let's go and uh, let's go and get some rupees."
Yeah, the chances are, especially with the flute making mobility a lot easier to get around, that you're going to be back in Kakariko a lot of times throughout the course of the run, but it's better to have the bottle merchant check done as early as possible, just in case it is something important, and that also gives you peace of mind. Then you know you won't have to go back for that later.
And we did find out that bottle vendor just has a heart piece. So nothing too harmless that would have caused Garrison to leave it alone for a while, or too harmful.
Yeah. Okay, so WGarrison is turning in that mushroom right away. Full heart container. Does prevent him from being able to use the Cane of Samaria glitch later if need be, but since mushroom is in logic, might as well get that out of the way.
Yeah, it's a fair play to make. It's so early on, and
Yep.
both are actually deciding to just with that in mind. They probably are not going to worry about doing a a fake powder, especially when you don't have Samaria on hand.
Right. And Ehseezed does the same play, and WGarrison is making their way to Mini Moldrum Cave. Ehseezed going to Agina's cave, going to scout out that heart piece on the ledge. Agina's cave is a much easier play to make if you have the flute already. WGarrison down to their last bomb, but defeats Mini Moldorm with a bomb to spare for Ice Rod Cave should they so choose.
We did also find a bottle, which is filled up with a fairy, so stick it down and play, and along with 150 rupees.
Mm-hmm. Nothing else too exciting in Mini Moldorm Cave today, but having a bit more money for the inevitable Zora check is always nice.
Now, normally whenever I do a Mini Moldorm Cave, I like to cook my my bombs. Like cooking the bombs is a lot better because it guarantees you can get a hit on the Mini Moldorms without having to rely on the RNG that is the Mini Moldorm's movements. And Garrison showing off how much that red mail can really do in this early game, because all those crabs just do a half a heart on red mail.
Yeah, it's a much safer ice cave check than it would have been without red mail.
Looking at our backlog too, I saw that the Ice Rock Cave was 10 arrows.
Mm-hmm. WGarrison gets the money from the bottle merchant and going over to Sick Kid, just 20 rupees. Ehseezed going for the kamikaze bomb strat on the first Mini Moldorm. It does cook the bombs for the ones across the gaps.
Yeah, this is something I like to do mostly because you don't have to really rely on the RNG. If you were to throw the bomb as you set it down, you just gotta rely on the RNG, and you'll most of the time, or some if not most of the time, you will end up with less bombs as opposed to cooking them.
Okay, so they're roughly doing about the same checks. Still on the table, we have a little bit that we can do in the left side of Death Mountain, as well as Sahasrara's Closet, and start to make our way diving pendant Eastern Palace. If you were in the runner's shoes, where would you go?
Let me get my tracker here to help identify that. But personally, after doing a fake flipper to get the waterfall wishing, and also, as not mentioned to you, the Zora ledge, I would probably head for either, I'd say Eastern, because it's just based on item density alone.
And it looks like Ehseezed is doing the fake flippers while WGarrison is heading to Eastern, so we get to see both at the same time. Yeah, having the Moon Pearl makes doing fake flippers a lot more inviting because you can actually get the 2 items inside Waterfall. Unfortunately, they're just a bit shy on rupees to get the King Zora item, but since that's not in logic anyway, then that's not too much of a loss right now.
Sahasrara paying off with the mirror.
Yeah, now WGarrison has enough money for Zora. Oh no, almost enough.
Just about 44 rupees short.
Enough that it rounds up.
Yeah.
If they decide to go into the rupee room in Eastern Palace, then they'll have enough. Okay. Did we see the item on Lake Hylia Island from Ehseezed?
I mean, let's see if I'm gonna look at my backlog here. As far as I'm aware, I don't think Ehseezed may have saw it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that we did either.
Waterfall of Wishing.
Ooh,
There's money for
Waterfall
Zora.
of Wishing paying off big. Now we can check Zora.
Ehseezed actually had money to work with, especially with the 300 rupees paying dividends with the fact that he had 200 just to make that play work. And there's some arrows, which maybe just given that it's off center a bit, it's 10 arrows.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a fantastic 300 rupee find. So let's see if King Zora, our grumpy fish, has anything for us other than a painful life lesson. It is bombs.
An explosive life lesson, no less.
Well, 3 of the most expensive bombs later, and Ehseezed is... Well, we'll see where they decide to flute to.
Okay, we actually did see the item off of the Hylia Island, which happened to be 20 rupees.
Oh, okay. So they know they don't have to go back for that.
Yep. And really, at this point, we are still without a sword. Ehseezed heading over towards the mountain.
Yep, we're about to see 2 simultaneous dark rooms at the same time without even a sword to help cue your way to where to go. Props to these runners for doing with it, and good use of boomerang strats.
Yeah, their only hope is just boomerangs, and that's it. So, and I can appreciate it because the bomb just wasting bombs is just not fun, and the only way you can use something is just that the boomerang. And by the time I get the old man, I know the route itself. Ooh.
Unfortunately, WGarrison takes a death and is going to use that fairy in a bottle, but they did get the small key from the Southwest room, and should be getting out of here. Yep. Ehseezed has no problem helping the old man go back to their home, and is now checking Spectacle Rock and the item on top of Spectacle Rock.
Oh, Spectrack having a heart container. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Without the mirror yet, though, Ehseezed can't make their way into Hera. So we'll see if they decide to go flute there afterward, and it looks like they are indeed heading to the Eastern Palace area.
So compared to WGarrison and from Ehseezed, Garrison will more likely than not head into Hera after this because of the fact that Garrison does have that mirror.
Mm-hmm. And we don't have a fire source yet, so there is the potential that we could be locked out in Hera, but there aren't too many other options, so chances are Hera could have something good.
From WGarrison, you can use the hook shot or not the hook shot, the boomerang, sorry, to find themselves a glove.
Excellent find from WGarrison's side. So now they're only 1 item away from Dark World access, whether that is the hammer or the Titan's mitts. And after finding that small key and not the big key, that is all that Hera has to offer for the time being. So, A relatively benign Hera trip, not having to do the basement just yet. And it is a pendant anyway. So with that glove find, WGarrison is making their way straight to the back of Escape.
Now, after this, I don't know if Garrison would probably want to attempt a bomb escape if they don't find a sword. Escape having 20 rupees, 10 arrows, and a hammer. So
Ooh, now there's Dark World access.
Not to mention too, we have a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So Hera was necessary to get over to the Dark World.
Yep. Looks like WGarrison is heading straight over to Hype Cave. Gonna be postponing the trip to the front of Escape leading to Zelda's cell for a little bit longer. And won't have to do that with bombs, which is always nice. Okay, 5-6 crystals are at Thieves Town and Turtle Rock, and the red pendant is in Misery Mire. All the rest of which are crystals. So we're definitely going to be looking for that ice rod eventually.
Literally, the only weapon you can really use that ice rod is just on Trinex, and that's it. So to Hype Cave we go. 20 rupees to start, 10 arrows, a 5 rupee, 20 rupees, and yep, it's gonna be, not surprising, it's a landfill with a ton of ET cartridges.
It is not the Hype Cave of our dreams, but perhaps the Hype Cave of our expectations. In the meantime, Ehseezed is combing through Eastern Palace in the dark, has to be a bit careful with the one heart, but gets through the skeleton room with the small key, has that fairy just in case, and does get out of the room with just that half a heart left. We'll see what they decide to do in this coming room, because normally the strategy is to damage boost.
Garrison gonna look at the Stomp B check, and we find our first medallion, which is Bombos.
Ooh. Well, at the very least, we'll have Ice Palace access eventually if it comes to that.
Over Taurus Cave. Sorry.
Ehseezed trying to defeat these enemies without a sword, but it's proving pretty problematic. Okay,
Now, just because we don't have a super tile. Oh, yep, there we go. I can see why Garrison, as he said, might be doing this way, because well, wants to do a damage boost and does not want to take a death here.
Yeah, nice use of the pots that refresh in order to defeat the enemies that do not refresh when exiting and entering a room. Unfortunately, just the compass for the efforts, but it's really neat to see. And then, as he said, does preserve that fairy in a bottle for later, should they need it.
That fairy in a bottle because of the death that he took.
Yep, also around the same area. Okay, looks like Ehseezed is going to do the beginning of Hyrule Castle bomb strats. We'll see. They could still find something really nice in the basement of Hyrule Castle, such as boots or mitts, and that could be a really interesting gamble. It'd be very interesting if it's mitts, because that would be the other glove.
And the advantage to having doing this bomb strat here is we do have a glove, or a boomerang. Sorry, we do have a boomerang, and we are able to stun the guards here to kill them a lot easier.
Yep. We'll also get the stun prize. Well, not from this guard, but from the green one. WGarrison heading north into Skull Woods. Can't complete it without Fire Rod, but it's such a short dungeon with only 2 items to find that there can be something good there. I like to do it the safe way rather than jumping down the first hole on the left side, just to prevent that soft lock potential. And Ehseezed finds a sword. That's a nice find. That's a nice advantage for Ehseezed for doing the Hyrule Castle basement. We'll see if they find something else. WGarrison gets a fairy in a bottle as one of the items in Skull Woods, so now both of them have a fairy. Just 20 rupees left, but that sword is a nice advantage for doing Hyrule Castle. We'll see if they decide to make the play to Hera next. In the meantime, WGarrison has a nice bomb jump over the gap in Skull Woods for the big chest. Only a map, but the bomb jump was nice. And it looks like Ehseezed is going to dip into Hera, where they'll be rewarded finding that glove. So WGarrison is still looking for the second item in Skull Woods. We'll see if it is in the Gibdo's room here. If it happens to be the Fire Rod, then they can finish Skull Woods, but regardless, it's a crystal, so they'll likely need to do that eventually anyway. Alright, Ehseezed is now gloved up, and we'll get to find out the good news that they don't have to do any more of Hera right now. So it looks like WGarrison is going south into Village of Outcasts and the Thieves Town area. With the hammer, they can full clear Thieves Town, but without a sword, it's going to be a bit more difficult to do that, particularly the blind fight. So going into Hyrule Castle could indeed be a big play for Ehseezed. Ehseezed is immediately going to check the back of Escape, where they'll find the hammer, and we'll see what they decide to do on their first access into the Dark World right afterward. WGarrison finding the lamp inside Chess Game. And Ehseezed picks up that hammer.
All right, I am back. I see we do have a lamp.
Yeah, WGarrison has found the lamp inside of Village of Outcasts, is doing the other Village of Outcasts checks, and we'll see if they do Thieves Town without a sword after this. I can totally understand not wanting to do that, and there's still a few other things to do in the Dark Overworld.
Also, I see that sword. Where did Ehseezed find that?
Ehseezed found the sword in Hyrule Castle basement.
Is a very nice find for SCZ, which shows that that play for the bomb escape paying dividends here.
Yeah. Looks like WGarrison is going to do Swordless Thieves Town. There are 4 items inside here. Maybe they'll find a sword on the way, but hammering blind at the end is not a fun time. With Red Mail, and WGarrison does have a fairy from that Skull Woods dive earlier. That makes it a bit easier, but still have to be very careful going through all of this dungeon.
Yeah, WGarrison wants to hold on to that in case once we get to blind.
Ehseezed going to skip on Skullwoods for now, and goes right into Kakariko and Village of Outcasts upon their first access into the Dark World. We'll see if they decide to do Thieves Town as well.
I can see SCZ doing Thieves Town more because Garrison because SCZ doesn't have that sword that he picked up within the Hyrule Castle basement, as opposed to Garrison, where Garrison didn't bother to do with the front of escape play compared to SCZ.
Yeah, and with so much to do in Dark World now, it might be a little while before WGarrison decides to make that play into the left side of Hyrule Castle to get that sword. So that could be a pretty sizable advantage for Ehseezed coming up. We haven't found a bow yet, so we might be able to dive into pod, might not, depends on what that small key ends up, where that first small key ends up being. WGarrison has already done Hype Cave, so they are running a little low on options outside of it, but the other nice thing about having the hammer is that WGarrison can now make their way to the east side of Light Death Mountain for the 8 treasure chests that are that way, and with that sort of temptation around, it might be a while before they decide to do Hyrule Castle.
And that's totally respectable too, as doing bomb escape is kind of tricky if you don't have a boomerang. SC seeing that boomerangs were very accessible early on, went ahead and did it, and of course got rewarded with that sword.
Good knowledge from WGarrison, picking up that heart container in the pot, getting ready for that upcoming hammer blind fight.
And yeah, I'm gonna, like you said, dannymusic, hammer blind is not a fun fight. It's all about, well, first of all, hitting blind with the hitbox, or the small hitbox of the hammer. And not to mention, too, you don't have a way to do a script.
Right. WGarrison does have a fairy from the pickup in Skullwoods earlier, so that certainly might make them feel a bit safer doing hammer blind. And the fight is coming up now. In the meantime, Ehseezed is at the top of Thieves Town, going to bomb that hole and make their way down, where a much easier blind fight will await them.
Now, how SCZ did this attic room, typically most runners will bomb the sunroof, which is the golden power, and we'll then check the chest as the bomb is about to explode. saves a bit of time that way, because you're doing you're checking the chest on the way out. So far, really good fights from WGarrison here.
One more hit to go, and doesn't even need that fairy in a bottle. Very nice fight from WGarrison, and gets rewarded with the hook shot.
A very excellent way to draw first blood here at the 33-minute mark. Just about 34 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So with that hook shot, we now have access to Ehseezed Mountain.
Yeah, we actually already had access to Ehseezed Mountain with the mirror and hammer.
Ah, right.
But it makes getting to Ehseezed Mountain even easier and even more tempting.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That Ehseezed Mountain play looks a lot more juicy compared to what it was before, because with the mirror and hammer being quite a long-winded way to get over there.
Yeah, and WGarrison had not done the old man check earlier, so going to do that on their way up to Death Mountain. Pretty cool routing to see there. Ehseezed comes a little bit off script, but should still be in good shape to finish off this blind fight. And now, nice fight from Ehseezed, about to get their first crystal at the 35-minute mark, as well as the hook shot. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that now Garrison, now let's see what Garrison or Ehseezed will do. Now Garrison did actually leave out Graveyard Ledge as an option, which it makes sense too for Garrison because you haven't done this check already. Now, if I was in his shoes, I probably would have done that Graveyard Ledge check before heading up, and just once I did the Graveyard Ledge check, I also will probably run back to where the bumper cave was, mirror, and then go up the mountain.
Yeah, it does isolate the Graveyard Ledge check a bit. If they find the Titan's Mitts and Boots, then they can combo that with the King's Tomb check, as well as the General Bonk Rocks check later. Or possibly save it for later and then make their way up to Catfish as well. But for the time being, I agree, that check is kind of orphaned. That being said, there is also a lot to do, and going up here to Death Mountain, where there are 8 items awaiting you, makes a lot of sense.
Garrison, while we were talking too, did find a cape in Paradox Cave, which now opens up Spike Cave.
That's true, and there are the flippers. So now we have Swamp Palace open, bringing WGarrison even farther away from grabbing that sword.
Garrison doing that bomb jump without a sword, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That bomb jump is honestly one of the more, dare I say, easier of the bomb jumps in my opinion, because of the way Link's sprite clips onto that edge.
Ehseezed struggling a little bit with the bomb jump to the big chest. Looks like they have it there, and they do. And we'll see where they decide to go after the Skullwoods check. Ehseezed has not made their way down to Hype Cave yet, and we haven't seen checks like Stump Kid and Cave 45 yet either.
From Ehseezed's side, yes. And from out of Sparrow Cave, WGarrison gets another fairy in a bottle.
This is a very fairy-friendly seed. 3 out of 3 bottles had fairies.
Yeah, this is the fact that we got fairies so all the time throughout most of this seed with the bottles is very nice, because we got more chance, we got more wait, and it can die less, and in this case, we have like 3 lives over on WGarrison's side if I want to be technical. And Garrison, seeing the opportunity after getting the flippers, heading for Swamp Pellets, which I personally agree with.
Yeah, going into Swamp right away. Going to have to do the dreaded item management Argus, but that fight is more annoying than it is difficult.
Yeah, it's mostly because it takes like almost forever to do that, because you just gotta switch to the hook shot, switch to the hammer, switch to the hook shot, etc. and so on.
Okay,
Now,
so... Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry about that. Garrison is going to now head over towards Swamp Palace, gonna get the first chest. The key is, of course, the necessity key, because without it, then, well, we're nowhere near that whatsoever.
Nice jump down the Death Mountain ledge from Ehseezed's side. Checking Bumper Cave to see what that item is, and then jumping down in a way that avoids the Murderdactyls. And it looks like Ehseezed is going to do Graveyard Ledge check before heading up. We'll see where they decide to go afterward. Possibly Death Mountain. Possibly make their way to... no, I guess they can't make their way to Catfish unless they do the Kern jump.
The Graveyard Ledge having only 3 bombs, and they can actually... Garrison could, I believe, swim across, because he does have those flippers. Or no, he hasn't went up there yet. Right, duh.
Looks like they're going to check, well, looks like they wanted to check, Dark Cross Room, but didn't have the key to make it over to that side. And now they're gonna go do the east side of Death Mountain. But since they already did the old man check, no harm lost there.
And yeah, this is the reason why Ehseezed wanted to do that anyway, because he already has access to the mountain and probably wants to get that Graveyard Ledge check out of the way before doing anything else. In Garrison's case, he never went up the mountain, so he was going up the mountain anyway, and he had more checks to do compared to Ehseezed when he did his first mountain climb.
Yeah.
Garrison, in preparation for the diver down from the left side swamp.
Doing bomb strat with diver down.
Of course, it's the only way that Garrison can do this without a Samaria. They can't really do these Samaria strats, obviously, but Garrison trying to line up for that bomb jump, and needs to face the left now.
Nope, not quite.
Nope. Looking for the right pixel that Garrison needs to get that diver down to work.
In the meantime, Ehseezed grabs their flippers. Now Swamp Palace is open to them as well. Yeah, they weren't quite far down enough in order to do that bomb jump. But not a big loss, just have to take a little bit of extra walk between the caves. Okay. WGarrison has to be careful, they only got 1 bomb left.
Now, in these cases where Garrison is doing the bomb jump, you normally would want to tap towards the left and then jump down, because this is the one of the few times. Okay, now he's got it. Very
Wow.
nice.
Got it on the last bomb. Nice.
In those kind of in a situation where you can't jump down just yet, you can turn yourself to the left, and then you can go face up and then drop down that way. You don't have to do this when you're doing the back of the Swamp Palace, because there's a lot more room to do the bomb jump as opposed to that specific sliver of railing.
Yeah, it's a very precise trick, especially doing it on the left side like that. But WGarrison was able to get it in the end. Left side just has the big key and 10 arrows. And it looks like Ehseezed is going to jump into Swamp as well. Maybe checking Hype Cave before doing that.
Yeah, Hype Caves is in the general direction of Swamp, and Zed will actually, I think, save. Hopefully, it should save on bombs here, but it's got 4 to work with.
Yeah.
With that Hype Cave check, it's gonna be 2 once we get into Swamp Palace.
Yep, Ehseezed about to get the Hype Cave of our expectations, but not of our dreams. And without any bombs, WGarrison is going to push the statue onto the switch as normal in Swamp Palace.
Alright, Hype Cave did have bombs in the back. Still doesn't excuse it from being a landfill with a bunch of ET cartridges in it. I swear, there's never a sword quest there. Well, almost never, but the point still gets crossed. Now checking the flooded chest. There's
Half magic.
Ooh, that's a nice find. Always nice to see half magic.
Yeah. Yep, they'll have to do Turtle Rock at some point, and that makes that fight a bit less stressful, as well as navigating the dungeon a bit less stressful. And should they need it for Silverless Ganon, then half magic is a nice safety to find there as well.
And now Garrison is onto the menu fights, the menu strat fights with the Argus fights. This is going to be very tedious and very annoying to deal with.
This is the one situation where it's actually nice that there's a bit of a gap that they haven't found the Ice Rod yet, because now it's only 2 clicks away from Hookshot to Hammer. WGarrison is trying to do the strategy of getting multiple puffballs and hammer shots at the same time, and executes it very nicely there.
Yeah, this saves a bit of time on the fights here, just having to hook 2 of the puffballs and just knocking them all down, just makes it a lot faster to work with. And of course, ultimately you would run a sword, but no sword be found in Swamp Palace. That was just rude.
You think that you're about to hit the puffballs, and nope, he just throws them over to the other side. But Garrison gets through the first phase of the fight and is now hammering blind to do the rest of it. In the meantime, Ehseezed is making their way to the bottom. We'll see what they decide to do about the left side.
Yes. blind is actually Argus. Or no, wait, that's the other way around. Either way, Argus is down.
Yeah. Yep. Ehseezed not doing the diver down strat, just going right away with the ordinary movement on the left side of Swamp. Does remember to hit the crystal switch, which is good. I have definitely forgot that on multiple occasions. Not that it really amounted to much, because Swamp was a pretty big wasteland other than a crystal this time around. We'll see what Garrison is up to. Looks like they're going to check Pyramid Ledge, maybe go to Catfish afterward, or maybe try to dip into Palace of Darkness.
Pod is an interesting dive because of the fact that we don't really have a way to get we can't complete the boss because we still need to look for a bow.
Yeah, it's one of those that if you try to dive the dungeon, it can be over very quickly if you get stonewalled by that first chest. Or you could do almost the entire dungeon and potentially get stonewalled by not having the bow to deal with the boss. And unfortunately, because this game gave us 3 fairies, neither of the runners have potions to be able to do potion glitch.
Doesn't work on fairies because it's not really a potion. It's just a fairy in a bottle. Same thing kind of works in a bee in a bottle. They're just flying entities, and that's it.
But WGarrison deciding to do Hyrule Castle right after Pyramid, which is also pretty nice routing, and they'll be able to grab that sword finally. We'll see what the runners decide to do after WGarrison is done here. Running a little low on options, as mentioned, can do Catfish, can try to dive into Palace of Darkness. They don't have the Titan's Mitts to be able to get into Hookshot Cave. They can do the rest of Hera now with the lamp as a fire source.
I think the best course of action at this point in time is going to have to be that Palace of Darkness play without that bow. It's starting to feel like more likely that the dungeon is not bow locked.
Yeah, it's a tempting place to check with 5 items in the dungeon. Most of which, but probably not all of which, would be available right from the start. WGarrison does already have that Dark World portal should they want to use it, but with the flute, it might actually be faster just to flute to 5 if they're going to do that. Looks like they do use the Dark World portal.
Yeah, it is faster to head over towards Pod by doing the the flute portal, the flute spot over towards 5. And okay, I see what Garrison might be wanting to do. Going to head for Catfish instead of doing Pod. I don't know. It's a one-off check. It's far away for just a one-off item.
Looked like they meant to use the hookshot to deal with that enemy and accidentally mirrored instead. But yeah, it's a one-off item. Catfish is one of those where there's not really any better time to check it than when WGarrison is doing it right now. And this is cool. Is deciding to get a potion to be able to use potion glitch for their play into pod later. I like that play a lot.
Yeah, you actually let go of a fairy just to get one extra potion, as opposed to like going in and just having one potion on board, which means that Garrison will have at least 2 attempts at the potion camera unlock.
Yeah, and Oro bringing up a good point. I believe Ehseezed has done the Zora area, but not Garrison.
Garrison has not.
Okay.
And because of the fact that he didn't have enough rupees to pay it off. The catfish just only having 20 rupees.
Yeah, so this is really nice routing for Garrison. Can go up, do the Zora area, and then pay $500, 500 rupees for 3 overpriced bombs, and then take that portal back and make their way right down to 5. Or with the flute, probably just fast travel to 5.
The Bombos medallion from off of old Stumpy.
Yep, and we'll see what Ehseezed decides to do after our Cave 45 check here.
Captain 7 quit. This looks to be that pod play. Actually, this might be something a little different. Oh, okay.
WGarrison
fair enough.
Hasn't seen the Lake Hylia item.
Also hasn't done the man under the bridge, so
Yeah,
flipper checks.
that makes sense. Ehseezed doing digging game. Digging into the earth a couple times, but should still be fine. And WGarrison opting for Mountain Cave now, possibly to check out Spike Cave. Or possibly to finish Hera.
We are able to hero pot we're able to hero pot this. Possibly this goal in mind. I'm thinking Garrison might be wanting to clear out Hera in pursuit of the green pendant.
That's true, and then with the green pendant, then when they decide to do pod, they can turn that into Sahasrara right away. There's only one item left to find in Hera because we found the Power Glove earlier.
And it looks like Garrison... Okay, so it's going to grab the big key from him off the Hera basement and just going to climb it up. Probably also want to make... Probably just to be safe in case the big chest has an item.
Right. WGarrison doing some ninja dodges around the floor tiles, making this more of an exercise break than a coffee break. Ehseezed looks like they're following suit and checking the pyramid, maybe going to do catfish or maybe dive into pod. What were we gonna say?
It kind of reminds me. After this, I probably want to just get a workout going. So, Garrison, of course, gonna get the big key from off of the Hero basement because otherwise we don't have any reason to go up the Tower Hero here.
Yep, and now for the climb up the Tower of Hera. Ehseezed is going to catfish. We'll get the bad news and we'll see what they decide to do after that.
Known, he's had to run back to get the blue switch.
So what items do we need to find for go mode? We need to find possibly the boots depending on Desert Palace. We need to find a bow for pod, fire rod for Skull Woods and Turtle Rock, Titan's mitts for Ice Palace and Turtle Rock, and Ice Rod for Turtle Rock. Still looking for a lot. Oh, Cane of Samaria as well.
Cane, so bow, both rods, possibly Turtle Rock Medallion if it's not Bombos.
Yeah, there's a lot to find.
Yeah,
Ehseezed is going to dive into Palace of Darkness. They do not have a potion, but depending on what item is in the first chest, we'll see if they get stymied right away or if they can continue onward to get a lot of the rest of the items.
And my personal belief is, since we are running low on a few checks here, after Garrison clears out Hera, I still believe that there will probably be a key in that in the first chest, because there's nothing really else you got to do here. Garrison picked up that green pendant from off of Mulder.
Yeah, we are low on options other than Palace of Darkness here.
I'm gonna play a lot more safe here. Is gonna check out that spy cave check, and yep, we are.
Ehseezed does find a small key.
Yep. No, we're not bowlots, and that's what I figured too. Pretty much the game expects us to head over here because we're running low on those checks.
Yeah, we'll see if WGarrison finds something nice in Spike Cave. If so, then it probably won't be too long before Ehseezed heads over there as well. And turns out it's just the bug net.
We did find out that there is a Cane of Burna, which is the other invulnerability item. So
yeah, that's the wrong color cane.
Yep, but it's still a cane nonetheless.
Yeah.
And Ehseezed could also pick up the bug net from there.
Yeah, Ehseezed bombs the left side, but realizes they don't have a key. So there will probably be a small key here, and there is. And then they have to make the decision to either check the vanilla big key chest or to go on to the back of Palace of Darkness. Personally, I would be in favor of going to the back, but it looks like they're going to the vanilla big key chest. If this is anything but a small key, then they kind of get stymied again. Alternatively, it could be the bow, and that would be really nice.
Far, we have found only one item in this particular set, and there is that key for a key.
Yep. So WGarrison turning in that green pendant just for bombs. And that was all that remains in Tower of Hera.
And we are only interested in the glove.
Both runners going to be doing the dive into pod.
So now Garrison heading in there. Oh,
Ooh,
hello.
there we go. That's what we were looking for. So Titan's mitts. Now, Ice Palace is fully clearable. The East Dark Death Mountain has Super Bunny Cave and the 4 chests and Hookshot Cave, plus you get to see what the medallion for Turtle Rock is. With the flute as well as the Titan's mitts, that opens up the Mire area, and the Smith chain is open as well, including the Smith hammer pegs and purple chest. And that's an Ether medallion in the Dark Maze as well. So not going to be able to complete pod on the first trip. We'll definitely have to be coming back here, but a lot of the game just opened up to these runners, and WGarrison will find the Titan's mitts very shortly as well.
Yeah, so that being said, too, so we did open up, we do have the Mire area opened up, we have Dark Death Mountain open, we have the Smith chain also open.
Yeah, this also pulls Ehseezed a bit away from the checks that WGarrison already did, such as finishing Ice Palace and doing Spike Cave. Since we know that those aren't necessary, this finding the Titan's mitts and deciding to dip pod when he did is a bit of an advantage for Ehseezed.
Garrison electing to do the potion camera unlock, and there is another sword.
Yeah, nice potion glitch on WGarrison's side, and finding a sword in Misery Mire is certainly a welcome pickup. Oh no!
He got locked out.
Got closed out.
So it's gonna drop another potion here.
Doesn't... Oh, they do have another potion.
Have another potion on board, and just make sure just to get past that. There we are. Now we are into the Bowlock side.
Yep, safety. Getting that safety second potion coming into play. That's very fortunate. We'll see what WGarrison picks up. A full heart container is always nice. And there are a lot of other items that could be a big advantage on WGarrison's side. Unfortunately, just another small key. But that enables WGarrison to check Harmless Hellway chest, which I don't believe Ehseezed did.
He did not, because of the fact that Ehseezed elected to not get any potions.
So Desert is not boots locked. Grabs that big key from the chest.
Now we may end up getting the boots if we somehow get that 1 in 22 chance of GT Big King being on the torch. It's saying that this is a 1 in 22 chance. It can happen, but it is quite rare.
That is true. WGarrison finding that Titan's mitts. We'll see what they decide to do. I like this play from Ehseezed. You get to find out what the Mire medallion is. Mire is accessible with the Ether medallion, but without the cane, not completable.
Ehseezed now heading over towards the back of Desert Palace. So with that compass being in the bit chest, we know that Helmasar has an item, which is going to be locked behind a bow.
Yeah. All right, WGarrison deciding to get potions before doing anything else makes a lot of sense. Having used that earlier.
I think the call here is to head into Ice Palace, actually.
Yep, Ice Palace is full clearable. And looks like they're going to be doing the same thing that Ehseezed did and check the Mire stuff while it's here. The Mire stuff, the items are extremely quick. You get a little bit of information, and you can pop by and do desert, or at least see if you can do desert, which is what Ehseezed does right now. So I definitely like this play from both of them. Unfortunately, without the silver arrows or the fire rod, the best items to deal with land molas are not available right now. But what is available is a crystal. Ehseezed takes the lead 3 crystals to 2, although WGarrison has that green pendant from Hera earlier.
Yep, that's now, yes, he said third crystal, like you had mentioned, and now at this point, Ehseezed is heading for Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, Dark Death Mountain is a treasure trove. You get to see the item, you get to see what medallion you need for Turtle Rock, as well as the 4 items that are in Hookshot Cave and the 2 that are in Super Bunny Cave. Plus, Ehseezed hasn't done Spike Cave yet. So, there's a lot to be gained. Ehseezed could also decide to do Hera as well, but with Ice Palace being a crystal, I think that would be less likely. But the way that it's looking out, it looks like they are going to Hera. Yep, they are going to Hera.
So this is an interesting commitment from Ehseezed. We, of course, once Ehseezed gets the, once he gets that, it's gonna be rewarded. Oh, actually, okay, so he's not gonna do it.
I think maybe Ehseezed got there, heard the music, realized it was a pendant, and decided not worth it.
Yeah, and actually, this is actually the right call because we know that Sahasrara doesn't have anything on the green pendants.
Right. Yeah, so that will save a bit of a close call, but that will continue to be an advantage for Ehseezed not doing Hera. Might be on their mind later, though.
Ehseezed picking up the bug nets from off a Spike Cave.
And it looks like they're going to decide to do the rest of Dark Death Mountain. Which, we're looking for a lot of items still, and with 6 items available, there's a decent chance that we'll be able to find something nice.
Yeah, we got a lot to deal with on that Dark Death Mountain play.
In the meantime, WGarrison is heading towards Landmola's. Navigate this boss fight. Looks like they're going for the Master Sword spin strats.
Ehseezed gonna open up the chest here, or not chest, the Dark Depth Mountain area, and we did also see that it is Ether, and I forget where Ether actually showed up. Not gonna lie.
Ether showed up in the Palace of Darkness Dark Maze in their right chest.
Ah, okay, yeah, that's cool. So all we're worried about now is a bow, both rods, and cane.
Yeah. And to answer the question that was posed in chat, the Mentor Tournament, would you like to explain that, Professor?
So the Mentor Tournament is the idea. The idea of this tournament is that, well, not in this particular week, but the previous weeks, both these players were given a mentor of their choosing, and they would play against each other and get help from the big names. So stuff like P-Train, Gamachu, and all the like. And these well would be in show up in comms, and they would help the other runners out. And in the weeks 3 and 6, they take what they learned about the mentors and they apply it to a situation where they don't have any mentors. They just got to play by themselves. Fairly new to the game, they came in without any knowledge of the game whatsoever, or maybe a bit of knowledge and wanted to get into speedrunning. And now they're in a state where they are pretty good. They are pretty good in their own right.
Yeah, one of the great rewards of doing a tournament like this is it helps expand and build community and cultivate interest in A Link to the Past randomizer, and then it's also really nice to be able to see the runners progress and improve, remembering the advice of their helpers. So Ehseezed is now making their way back into Palace of Darkness, now armed with the bow, which was found in Super Bunny Cave, and WGarrison, having also made the play up to Dark Death Mountain, will find it shortly afterward.
And a good direct comparison I can make to compare this tournament is Final Fantasy 1 Randomizer's Duckling Derby that they have, or the Duckling program, where runners will where new players who are getting into that particular randomizer are put into a little tournament where they'll go up against other ducklings and see how they compete and before they stack up against the big guys. So with that bow in hand, of course, Ehseezed heading for the back of pod. Of course, check out the bow locked side. And we will find out the information about what the Helmstar King has just lying around.
That's true. I believe that Harmless Hellray Room was also a small key for a small key. So they won't need to go back and check Harmless Hellray Room for an additional item.
Yeah, generally, one thing about the key logic for pod is that if you have 3 or more keys going into Harmless Hellway, you can expect it to not have a small key.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps. I often find that I'm counting keys more often in Palace of Darkness than counting items, just because I want to see if you can skip that last one.
Yeah, that's something I tend to do as well, where I will count out the keys, because that way I know what I'm working with, and if I get both items that I count 3 and 4, so that way I know that, because there can be at least 4 keys like at the maximum 4 keys. There can be keys in that. There could be a few more keys or than that. I think there's could also be more keys. I don't know about that, but the medium is around 4 keys.
Hmm. Yeah. So after Palace of Darkness, would you mirror and finish out Eastern Palace, even though it's a pendant? I believe there's still one item to find on our Armos Knights. And Pedestal is still in play because we haven't seen what it could be yet, and it could be the Ice Rod. I think it can only be the Ice Rod, though.
It can be Fire Rod. It could be the Fire Rod, Ice Rod, but not Cane.
That's true. It could be the Fire Rod as well.
Okay, so it is a minimum of 4, 6, 4 in the front. See, that's what I figured. Thanks to Irritable Penguin for getting that information out. Ehseezed now onto the Helmos Arcane fight with some appropriate cadence of Hydro music. Thanks in part to the MSU pack that he is using. Hopefully we'll get a restream for my race, which I'm planning to show off an MSU pack that I'm working on myself. And down goes the Helmos Arcane.
Yeah, very, very nice fight from Ehseezed.
And to answer the question, personally, since I'm in the area, I end up clearing Eastern to get it out of the way. But I would also think, at the same time, I'm thinking I'm thinking Ice Palace because, well, it's another crystal I can clear, and that's exactly what Ehseezed is gonna possibly do. He's gonna leave out Eastern Palace because we know there's just one item that's on Armos Knights, and is going to head over towards Ice Palace. Exactly.
Yeah, I like this play.
Yeah, the exact mindset I'm thinking of. It's a crystal you can clear, and you have 3 items there. A lot more better of a choice than it is going into Eastern and probably finding that there is nothing there.
And with the flute is such a nice item to navigate around. It makes it easy to go back to Eastern should they need to. And another option that neither of the runners have done yet is the Smith Chain. And I guess another one is diving into Misery Mire, but yeah, I like this Ice Palace play on Ehseezed's side.
Now the kind of a bad thing about this play too is that we don't have that Samaria to do the Icebreaker, which would make this dungeon a lot more tolerable.
Yeah, they might. Perhaps that's the reason why they were waiting on Ice Palace as long as they did, just in case they could find the Cane of Samaria to have Icebreaker to make getting around a lot easier.
Yeah, and there's also the case too where it's possible that the dungeon could end up being Samaria locked, but then again too, you do have the Ice Palace bomb jump, which negates that need. By the logic, you would assume that that this dungeon is Samaria locked if that Colster has the key in hand.
Okay, WGarrison flutes over to Kakariko. Looks like they are going to do that Smith Chain.
And this is another fair play from Garrison. That's another good option that you could have made too. You have 3 items as well. You have purple chest, you have the hammer pegs, and you also have the smiths. And at the same time, you can also route that over to Ice Palace.
Yeah. And Was it Garrison or Ehseezed that skipped Graveyard Ledge?
Garrison, because Garrison had went over towards the mountain because Garrison never went there
Right.
after doing the play for Thieves Town.
Right. So they could decide to do Graveyard Ledge now that they're in the area. Alright, Ehseezed working on this bomb jump here. Garrison finds just 10 arrows inside hammer pegs. Time to take the frog back to his home. Bring Jeremiah back to the light world. Ehseezed gets the bomb jump.
Nicely done. Ehseezed, one thing that Ehseezed could have also done too is that Ehseezed could have. Oh, that is
Ooh,
big.
Red Cane. That's an advantage.
That is big. So
now Garrison could do Icebreaker.
because Ehseezed had won over towards Ice Palace, just without that cane. So of course have to do the bomb jump. The entire dungeon is now full clearable by logic.
That's true. Yep, that's true. There's no longer the possibility of being logically Samaria locked.
Yeah, the bot, or more specifically, the boss being Samaria locked.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rest of the dungeon can't be Samaria locked. It can be hookshot locked, but not Samaria locked.
Right. Finding the shovel.
Head over towards Iced Tea Room, leaving no stone unturned here. And with this, the fact that Garrison does have the King of Samaria, you get to see how much of an advantage having that ability to do Icebreaker is compared to do it without. Within Ice Palace, because you don't have to worry about taking this long-winded path and then also doing the bomb jump to get over.
Yeah, Ice Palace is such an interesting dungeon to consider routing-wise, because now with the introduction of Icebreaker, that makes the Cane of Samaria a much more relevant thing to have in play, and it could have been relevant regardless. And then you also have to consider Hookshot and whether or not you have, I don't know, Bombos Medallion. There are a lot of options for dealing with Ice Palace. And WGarrison is going to do Icebreaker now, which will put them roughly where Ehseezed is currently. They're going to high five on their way. Very nice Icebreaker from WGarrison.
And right away, now with that in mind, seeing that Garrison does have that, they're kind of synced up here. Now that you think about it too, because at that point, of course, Garrison still has to grab the checks that Ehseezed have already done.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing that doing that Icebreaker it saves a lot of time in this dungeon in general. Just having to not do that Icebreaker or the Ice Palace bomb jump and all the other spots that you would have done normally. It just makes up a lot of time.
Yeah, and we know from seeing WGarrison's side that Ehseezed will have to do the Smith Chain in order to pick up that red cane, it's possible that WGarrison will go right to Misery Mire after dealing with this, but they still need to find both rods before being able to do Turtle Rock, and one rod before being able to do Skull Woods.
Ehseezed gonna have to play it a bit cautious here as he starts up the cold stare fight.
Mm-hmm. Does have some fairies, but would obviously prefer not to use them.
Yeah, because he's currently on 1.5 hearts after taking that that ice that's stalactite.
Yeah. I believe with Red Mail they can survive. No, they can't survive a hug from Cold Stare.
No. Yep, that's
case in point.
Yep, case in point. And it's gonna pop that. It's gonna pop that fairy that, as he's like you had mentioned. Having just a sword on, having a master sword on hand, just makes this fight exponentially difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's helpful to have Fire Rod just for the sake of being able to have a projectile weapon to deal with the puffballs.
It's just back on that 1.5 hearts that previously, and down goes the Cold Stare.
Good fight. And gets the Fire Rod. Oh my.
That's just not cool, dude. That's not cool.
Well, that does open up Skull Woods, and that would put Ehseezed close to that Village of Outcasts area to be able to pick up the red cane afterward.
So at this point in time, we are in a position where we're gonna find that ice rod. We are on a ice rod hunt.
Yep.
So that alone is kind of gross. The fact that you cannot use the fire rod whatsoever in that fight because Holster having to hold that ice rod means that if anything, you're better off if a sword was possible, like somewhere elsewhere in the world, at that current state, like namely the shovel, then it would have been. Then that fight would have been a lot better because you didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, having tempered makes it a lot easier to deal with these puffballs. WGarrison using the cape to great effect there to clear out the rest of them, so good awareness of their items. And we'll pick up that Fire Rod. We'll see if WGarrison decides to go to Skull Woods first or Misery Mire.
Yeah, because now this is an interesting call for Garrison now, because this is his call. He is in control of the Samaria, and is going to head over towards Skull Woods, just like Ehseezed is doing right now.
Mm-hmm. I like this play. In the very unlikely event that WGarrison finds the Ice Rod, then they could potentially go mode Misery Mire. But doing Skull Woods is pretty much equally out of the way. Like, there's nothing really else to be gained other than if you come here with a book later, then you could check the pedestal. But Mire does have 2 items, so doing Mire first would make sense as well.
And to answer your question in chat, currently, so far, Garrison is in control of the Samaria, which ended up being on the Smiths. And really, it's still kind of close. Because in the event that the Ice Rod shows up here in Skull Woods, if it does show up, it's possible that we're going to see a pretty close race here. Because Ehseezed will more likely than not leave off the Smith chain in this regard. If it goes down, it's going to be bombs.
But that is the second item.
Yeah. So now, at this point, what do? Do you ever go Eastern? Do you either go Turtle Rock, or do you either go Meyer?
Yeah, I would think in Ehseezed's side, Ehseezed will go do Smith Chain next, given that it is the most items so far. It'll be interesting to see what WGarrison does. Meyer is a crystal, so perhaps Meyer first. Looks like Ehseezed is making the play to Meyer, hoping to find the cane inside it, and unfortunately going to get some bad news there. But that's also a sensible play to make.
Well, I gotta do a double check because I thought it was a pendant.
Oh, sorry, Meyer is a pendant. Turtle Rock is a crystal. My bad.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So Ehseezed making the call for Meyer, which isn't a bad play as well. I wouldn't mind going to do doing the bird toss, but not doing the opposite side, not the way that you just throw it into the water, but a different but not identical bird toss. And personally speaking, I think just gambling on the Ice Rod and Turtle Rock is the best play that you can make here. If you do find out that Ice Rod is in Turtle Rock, this is your last crystal, so you might as well clear it. So, and that's exactly what Garrison's going to do. He's going to gamble Turtle Rock.
Yeah, it is the highest density item location area left, with 5 items plus Mimic Cave.
Yeah, this is the call I would make, because honestly, if you're in a situation when you're in an Ice Rod hunt and you see that, and you know that all that's left is Turtle Rock, because you already have you have 6 crystals so far, I'd say just go and do that now. And if you find the Ice Rod, then good. You can just clear Turtle Rock, and you're in the driver's seat.
So Ehseezed's still looking for 2 items in Misery Mire. The chance to find the items is still alive, but we know Ehseezed did not have the option to go right to Turtle Rock, because they still have to do Smith Chain in order to find that red cane.
Being in Turtle Rock and Ehseezed being in Mire, it's pretty much a good time to let us know that as we're about to get near the tail end of this match, there is the Tempered Sword. Off of Mire on Ehseezed's side. And now it's a good time to mention that as we're getting close to the end of this, nearly into late game, we're saying that now that's a good time to give a good, nice, hearty follow to both WGarrison and Ehseezed. They're putting on a spectacular performance for the final week of Swisses. I am Professor Render, and my co-com is Danny Music. Give us a follow as well. Our tracker is MM2 NES cartridge, and our Restreamer is Jere Dudecia. Definitely give both of those a follow as well. And if you're interested in the Goma podcast, based on what we've seen thus far, feel free to join our Discord. And we do have a bi-weekly we have a bi-weekly podcast, the Goma podcast, that goes up and helps newer players get familiar with some of the various things regarding A Link to the Past randomizer. So all that's left is just that ice rod, and that will put us into go mode here.
The hunt for the ice rod continues. There's the big key.
Yep.
So Ehseezed going to take that door. Nope, going to mirror out. I think there's still one item remaining.
He's locked out. Can't really. Needs to head to the. Okay, I like that.
Yep, going down.
I like the call here. Using that key to re-enter because of the fact that this room is part of a super tile.
Just finds another small key. But without the Cane of Samaria, that should be it for Ehseezed's exploration.
Yes, because that means that Vitreous has an item.
Yeah.
All is left now is we have the shovel spot, and we have Eastern Palace, and also Turtle Rock. And Turtle Rock looks to be the favorable play here. As far as I'm aware, Ehseezed isn't aware that still needs to find that Samaria, and
yep, realizes it now and is mirroring out.
Yep, just gonna head out there because you can't use yourself to open the switch up. You need something to weigh it down. That is that Samaria block.
Just need to bring a little bit of Majora's Mask tech in. Just play the Elegy of Emptiness using the flute while standing on the tile, and then you can get in. Unfortunately, we don't know the Elegy of Emptiness in this game.
Sad. I wish I knew a bit more about Majora's Mask or any of the 3D's Zelda games. That's not Breath of the Wild, at least. The only 3D game that I've ever played.
That's okay. Breath of the Wild I have not played very much of yet. Would like to, but then I'd be afraid of playing it and doing nothing else. But in the meantime, Ehseezed is now going to do the Smith Chain and will find that red cane. WGarrison is still making their way through Turtle Rock, having not found that ice rod yet.
At this point now, all that's really left is the laser bridge. And if that isn't it, then we're at that point, it's either the shovel or Eastern Palace.
Or the pedestal.
Pedestal is also a fair play. It is entirely possible that the pedestal is required. Ehseezed now gonna get the Cane of Samaria from off of the Smiths.
I don't know if they'll be able to get into that portal from there.
No.
Nope, looks like locked out. But with the cane, what are they gonna do? Will they go back for purple chests? Nope, they're going to make the play as well right up to Turtle Rock.
This is something that Ehseezed wish she could have done earlier on, but at this point now, it's all eyes are on Garrison, there is going to be at least another item here. There's a shield.
Shield. There's our small key. Last hope. The ice rod in the last chest on Laser Bridge in Turtle Rock, right where it belongs. And with that, at 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 50 seconds, WGarrison has entered Go.
And this is exactly why that call really worked out. Garrison, seeing the opportunity, probably thinking that Ice Rod is probably going to be in the sin that's in Turtle Rock, and also thinking that's just there's no way it can also be on Meyer into his for his perspective, just because it's just two items compared. It's just a crystal. It's a crystal that he can possibly clear if that Ice Rod does show up. Finds the Ice Rod at the very end, and now is on a crash course to finish the seed out.
Yep, still won't be easy. Ehseezed has found the Tempered Sword from diving into Meyer, whereas WGarrison will just have the Master Sword. There could still potentially be a sword in Ganon's tower, but having Tempered will make dealing with Trinex and dealing with Ganon a lot easier on Ehseezed's side. So this could very well come down to left side, right side Ganon's tower.
It's entirely possible at this point. We are still looking for that. If there is a 1 in 22 chance that the big key ends up in that on that torch, and in that case, the game still continues. And it could either be an Eastern Palace or the buried item from the shovel, in which of which both players have, and now WGarrison has knocked down Trinex. It's going to get the 7th and final crystal on hand. And at this point, we're going to start that game up now. There are 22 possible locations, 21 chests, and a single torch. That's where the big keys, the potential spots where the big key could show up. 1 in 22. Get your guesses in chat where you think that big key might be. And let's just hope that it's not on the... It doesn't show up on that torch. It's a 1 in 22 chance, of course. But it is entirely possible. It's one of the 22 locations that that can possibly show up.
All right, if you were Ganon, where would you hide your big key?
If I was Ganon,
I'm gonna say Bob's chest. The torch would be the worst possible location. That would let Ganon live the longest.
If I was Ganon, I would put on the torch. But with that being said, 21 chests and a torch separates Garrison from completing the seed. Now let's begin this game. Let's do this. Going to the right side first, into the Hope Room. Chest number 1 is a small key. Number 2 is the Book of Medora.
And they do not continue on to the right side, going to go left, and we'll see what that torch item is momentarily.
The torch item is going to be, oh no, that is the 1 in 22 chance.
The big key is on the torch.
If I was Ganon, I would hide it on the torch, and I happen to be right here.
Well, does that mean number 3 wins?
Yes, number 3 wins. And if I wanted to be technical here, I would have guessed 3. So I technically had won this game, but I didn't put my guess in officially. But at least on the terms of the bots. But now let's just hope for the boost to show up here. Please show up.
I retract my statement. We are not in go mode. We have 1 item left to find. It could still be in Ganon's tower itself. We did just find the book, so it could be on a tablet. It'd be really mean if it was on Bombo's tablet.
The funny thing about this too,
it could be on the pedestal.
The funny thing about this too, is that by the way, silver arrows. Funny thing about this too, GT is 100% required. This is a required double dip if it doesn't show up here.
That's true. The boots could be on the pedestal. That would be ridiculous. But ridiculous is possible.
The last time this happened to me, the last time this sort of thing happened when I was commentating, was actually during the group stages of the 2019 main tournament, and this was I think it was Bonta versus Lin Lin, and the boots happened to be on the Ether tablet.
Oh my!
It was a required double dip, and if this happens again, I am so. This is gonna be the 2020 equivalent of that event.
At least the Ether tablet is. You're in getting. Oh,
there
it
is.
Okay.
Okay, very good. We're safe now. So now we're in go mode.
Now we're officially in go mode.
So not fully identical. The silver arrows did show up in GT as well, but it happened to be entire room instead.
Oh my!
So crisis averted.
And they would have ended the room because of still need boots and Ether.
Crisis averted. We're now into go mode at just up the 150 mark.
Yeah, and with the silver arrows, WGarrison will have a much easier time with the Ganon fight. It's definitely not free though, because having to use the Master Sword on the first couple phases, still takes time and is a bit more unforgiving than just being able to slash him. But Ehseezed is going to make their way. They're almost done with Turtle Rock, going to find that ice rod, and they will get the same experience shortly afterward.
So if we were to give now, so now technically speaking, because of the fact that Vicky was on number 3, the actual winner of the bot happens to be our tracker, which was MM2 and his cartridge. So if we playing by technicalities here, and again, technically I would have won if I'd said something, but I didn't. Ehseezed's gonna get the ice rod and almost be ready to hit into go mode. Ehseezed gonna take the safety door just to just play it safe here, you know.
Yep, understandable. And WGarrison also going to take the safety fairy room in Ganon's Tower. Could use the bug net to catch a fairy, Alexanaut too, and about to make their way to the gauntlet. So with Tempered Sword, Ehseezed should have an easier try next fight than WGarrison did.
And the good news about Garrison getting the silver arrows here is that in that way, Garrison does not have to worry about doing any Master Sword serverless. All we really got to do is just get 28 spins and then put 4 arrows into Ganon, and that's it.
Yep, the only spinning that WGarrison will have to do is before Phase 4 of the Ganon fight.
Yep, and that too also means that now there's also possible that a sword could also show up in GT. If he gets lucky, if Garrison elects to open the 4 chests up in GT, then this makes a lot more sense. Good fights.
Very, very nice Landmolus fight on WGarrison's side, using the silver arrows to great effect, and by not taking the anti-fairy there, that ensured that the Landmolus spawned sequentially rather than simultaneously.
The funny thing about this too is that the book also ended up being in GT at that moment as well. So if that happened to be the case, then of course it was a required double dip for GT, and which was would have been even more funnier if it was on that Ether tablet.
Mm-hmm.
still one of my favorite moments from the tournament that I had the pleasure of commentating.
Hey, it's one of those that you don't see it too often, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and at 1:53:42, Ehseezed enters Ganon's tower. So WGarrison is deciding to check these chests on the way up Ganon's tower. Does not need to kill the mini Helmosaur there because they already have 2 keys.
And I like this from Garrison, just wanting to take the extra couple seconds to look for that final chest, look for a sword in the last 4 chests here. I just want to make sure that he's all ready to go.
Yeah, that sword would be nice. They gotta be a bit careful though. I don't believe there are any. I don't believe they have a potion. I'm not sure if they have a fairy either. And only 4 hearts.
Ehseezed is just stunned to see that the big key is on the torch and just thinks, oh no. And Moldarm 2 doesn't have a sword, so for Garrison, for all intents and purposes, he's just gonna have to do Master Sword spins, or not Master Sword Silver's Ganon. 28 spins, all it takes to knock down Ganon.
Now we'll see if they elect to do something like Flute to the Witch to pick up potions before dealing with that fight. But in the meantime, Geometry Wars are going well. Halfway done. I think that only registered as 1 because the 2 shots hit about the same time. Nope, it did register as 2. Okay, WGarrison is done with Geometry Wars round 2. Having only lost a half a heart from that. Ehseezed looks to be doing the right side of Ganon's tower now.
The big key happened to be on, technically the big key, but the boots happen to be in the left side. So Garrison is actually going to take a moment and pick up some keys, or some items, or potions rather, I'm sorry, before making the dive over towards Ganon.
Yeah, and I like this. Dealing with Master Sword Ganon on that little health, you would have to make a lot of hits without making a mistake. So, it makes sense to be able to take the safeties that you have, and with the flute, it's not too hard to come back to. It's not too hard to get to the witch and come back to the area.
And to answer that question in chat regarding the boots location, it happened to be in the Rando room on the left side.
Okay. Well, at the very least, Ehseezed was able to find the magic powder on the right side, so that's a safety that WGarrison did not have. And they are going to continue to the left side, which is the play that will work out.
With that being said now, WGarrison, with potions in hand, plus Master Sword in hand, and the all-important fights, silver arrows in hand, Garrison is onto the Ganon fight with Master Sword spins on.
And Red Mail coming into play as well, only taking 2 hearts from those Trident hits. Nice job getting into the corner on Garrison's side. And I think we're almost on phase 2. We are on phase 2 now. Phase 2 is a good one to use that magic cape for.
One of the more important things about this fight too is that it's always nice to know whether or not you can do double spins on Ganon, depending on where the positioning he is, to squeeze out a bit more spins on that fight.
Yeah, it looked like he was just a little bit farther away when Ganon was on the right side, but WGarrison was able to get a couple when he was in the upper left corner. Ehseezed is about to find the good news and grab those boots.
And there they are.
Immediately ducks out.
And now with Phase 4 into play, starting up that fight now. Just to be a bit on the safe side as well, gonna put on the torch glitch just to get to be a bit more safe with this fight. Just makes sense here if you're doing Master Sword spins.
Yep. Ooh, good job not falling into the pit there after getting hit by the fire. Takes the Silverless hit on Ganon anyway.
Good position to get the get a hit here. That's now 2 hits into Ganon.
Yep, halfway done with Phase 4.
Get your GGs in the chat.
GG's!
For WGarrison. It's going to be going a full 500 here in this 3-2 matchup. And WGarrison will take the win over Ehseezed with an official racetime.gg time of 2 hours and 49 seconds. And just shortly after that, Ehseezed said, I had enough, time to call it.
Had enough time to glitch the game. But yeah, GG to these runners. We'll see if we can get them in for an interview to talk about this wild and crazy seed.
Something I never knew you can do. Like, not gonna lie. Now, what I want to know is that if it's possible to get EG out of that as well.
Hmm. Yeah, the overworld glitches and exploration glitches are way over my head. I don't know where to begin with those. Okay, it looks like we have them both runners in for an interview.
Yep, they are in position now. We'll just be able to throw them in here pretty soon.
Big key on the torch, and I was almost ready to forfeit at that point.
Oh, hello.
Hello. All right, GG to both of you. How you feel?
Oh, that was crazy.
Yep.
Okay, I had to knock down my mic here for seconds.
Yeah, I have to adjust a couple volume things on my end. Okay, looks like I'm good to go. So, what was your reaction to finding the big key on the torch?
No response. Well, I can imagine like both of you are just like, oh boy, here we go.
The 21 in 22 chance of go mode officially had gone to only a 1 in 22 chance.
Sorry, I was quiet for a moment. I had a problem with some double sound coming through my headset, so I was completely confused.
Whoa.
Big key on the torch? Well, actually, it was one of those that was like, of course it is, but I kind of know the drill there, where when boots isn't required for the entire seed, and then you see big key on torch, the idea is now boots is the new big key, and see if it's in the basement. And then boots was in the basement anyway. I didn't find it to be that big of a deal.
Yeah,
That's
we were.
Nice.
good.
My reaction was quite obvious. I sat there for a good while, just like, come on, because I knew I had skipped a few stupid checks, and I was like, it's gonna be on one of those.
Yeah, fortunately for both of you, it didn't end up being there, but we thought it was interesting also finding the book in Ganon's Tower. It could have been on one of the tablets, and in fact, it could have still been on the pedestal. But fortunately, the seed wasn't that mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it was found on anything that we found in GT, like, I was fine with that. That wasn't going to be a problem for me. It was like, if we found boots in mire, I would have been not so happy about that.
So, WGarrison, you ended up going a significant chunk of the game without a sword. Ehseezed had made a play into the left side of Hyrule Castle slightly early and used the boomerang and bombs in order to get to Zelda's cell and found that sword there a bit earlier. Were you nervous about where swords could possibly be? How did that feel?
Well, the fact that I was, to tell you the truth, going through the game the way that I did, the only thing that I was really worried about was whether or not, like, Moldorm had something. But I know that when I was going by Tower of Hera, I didn't have fire the first time either.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, a lot of the things that I did early game, like hammer, was sufficient. I didn't really get into a spot where it's like, I really miss that sword right now. I probably would have been more worried about it had I had Fire Rod earlier, and it was like, crap, I could get to Mothula right now. But that I get these swordless seeds in open all the time, so I'm used to just smashing things with hammer all over the place.
Yeah, it was definitely helpful having that hammer around. There was an interesting moment where both of you were in dark rooms at the same time. Ehseezed was doing the old man check in the dark, and WGarrison was doing the first Eastern Palace dark room. And both of you guys were using boomerangs in order to get there, which shoutouts to the sewers and shoutouts to the uncle for having the boomerangs.
Yeah. Also, that's me done.
Technically, yeah, because
but I used the
Yeah.
major.
GG's in the chat for Ehseezed, because I mean, even though that doesn't count, because, well,
Major
Ehseezed
glitch.
just EG'd towards Ega 2, which I thought was pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
The magical staircase. And the magical
How
staircase.
about not GGs but EGs in the chat?
That works for me.
That works.
Says, you terrified me because I'm in Ganon, like I'm like the last hit or two with silvers with Ganon, and then I saw movement in the race time GG channel. I'm like, uh-oh, I just got sniped. And then I saw DNF. What exactly happened?
I had given up at that point. I assumed I was so very far behind and I needed to bounce soon.
It
I
was
mean,
pretty.
if you were already in GT, you wouldn't have been that far behind.
But then again, if I don't forfeit, I don't get to EG, and that's fun.
In case where you're in GT already, and you may as well try out do some EG shenanigans.
It was
figured
pretty
that'd be a
close the
fun-
entire time. Once it got to Palace of Darkness area, Ehseezed was clearing a lot. A lot of the time, Ehseezed was clearing out the dungeon and getting a crystal, and then WGarrison was following shortly behind, taking roughly the same route. Once you found the Titan's Mitts, in particular, we just saw both of you go to Misery Mire and then check out the Mire area. Then you both went up to Dark Death Mountain. The big difference ended up being towards the end, where WGarrison had made the play to check out the Smith Chain a little bit earlier, which found that red cane. And then WGarrison was doing Turtle Rock without the Ice Rod, while Ehseezed was looking in Misery Mire, also without the cane.
Yeah, that's actually kind of the reason why I was so worried about Boots being in Mire, because it was definitely one of those plays where it's like, I could have just as easily went into Mire, and the only reason why I didn't was like, wait a minute, I already did South Dark World check. It's really only 3 checks for Smith Chain, just the Hammer Peg, Smith, and then fluting with the purple chest. I might as well do that real quick, and then I was just going to do Bomb Jump Ice Palace after that.
That's right. Yeah, Ice Palace became in logic a bit earlier than you guys had both do it. Were you hoping for the cane in order to be able to use the Icebreaker glitch?
I really like the Icebreaker glitch. Oh, go ahead, he says.
No. Yeah, I also like the Icebreaker glitch, but I really didn't want to go in there until I was sure there had to be something progressive in there. And, well, until it was, higher odds is what I'm trying to say.
I know that Ice Palace was open pretty early, but I know when it first opened up, I was still on Fighter Sword. I definitely wanted to wait until Master Sword before going in there, because Hammer Cold Stare isn't fun, especially with no Fire Rod to help out. And of course, Fire Rod being in Ice Palace, I was never getting that.
Yeah.
There was no way to have the Fire Rod for the Cold Stare fight in this one.
So I think I got Master Sword up on Mountain. This was Long Seed. It's hard to remember. And then at that point, I was like, Smith Chain's a real quick check. Let's see if for some reason I pull Fire Rod or Samaria. I did, and then regardless of whether or not I found anything on Smith Chain, Ice Palace was the next play.
Yeah, the second sword upgrade ended up being in Mire Shed, which both of you managed to get. As soon as both of you had the Titan's Mitts, you pretty much did that first. But then Ehseezed ended up finding the Tempered Sword in Misery Mire, so there was that small advantage. So, yeah, I thought it would have been interesting. WGarrison was close to finishing Turtle Rock right as Ehseezed was entering it, so there was the potential it could have come down to Master Sword Silverless Ganon versus Tempered Sword Silverless Ganon, which is a pretty big time difference, and then also depending on how you route GT. So it really was never over until it was over, especially after finding the big key on the torch in Ganon's Tower.
I think one of the good things about seeing the key on Torch and knowing, hey, I still need to clear the bottom of GT Basement, was that I had a good shot then at that point at finding Tempered or Silver somewhere there. And that's exactly what happened. I found Silver's. Still not completely comfortable with the Master Sword Ganon fight, which is why you saw me grab a whole bunch of potions before actually fighting Ganon there. But Master Sword Silverless, that would have been tricky. I mean, I calmed a race just the other day where that was absolutely the downfall of one of the players, unfortunately. And it looked like he was clearing Master Sword Silverless faster than what I do. Because it's just something I haven't practiced enough.
And that makes entire sense too, because Master Sword Silverless is something that a lot of people should know and learn how to do in some capacity. Just knowing that, yes, you need to do at least 52 spin. No, you gotta do 52 spins in order to get him down. And having the equipment on hand is the most beneficial thing ever. Just recommended just to have like 3 potions, like 3 blue potions or 2 blue potions or whatever, and just invincibility items too. Just make that play and just get it done, you know?
Yeah. I think in the end, the 2 things that worried me the most in the seed was doing the really early front of Skull Woods and Thieves Town and coming up completely empty at the end of both of them. And then when I found Mitts in pod, I was like, oh gosh, my opponent might have done this a long time ago. It's pretty common for people to just decide, hey, let's head over pod, see what's in there, see if it's bow locked, and then continue if it's not. It wasn't bow locked because clearly there was progression in there. But and I think the last thing that worried me was when I was looking for Ice Rod going into Turtle Rock. I knew that if I didn't find Ice Rod on Laser Bridge, and it was there because of course it's there, it's a link to the past randomizer. If I didn't find it there, I was gonna come out and mirror on Laser Bridge, and I was gonna head to Mire and then clear out Armos Knights. The thing that worried me was I never did Graveyard Ledge. And if Ice Rod was on Graveyard Ledge and I had to kill my my mirror portal for Turtle Rock just to get Ice Rod there, like that would have been the disaster for me.
And
yeah, that's good that you remembered Graveyard Ledge then too. We were wondering about that when you passed over it earlier.
Yeah, and a good thing you didn't do as well, which it turned out to be nothing anyway. So at least that was something that, I mean, the possibility was still there. Don't get me wrong. The possibility is like there, but at least you didn't do it.
I think all the times that I was thinking about doing it, I was like, just hold off for boots, just hold off for boots. And when boots are in Ganon's Tower, like, then Graveyard Ledge becomes a never thing. Especially with the fact that I had already done Catfish with all of the Zora River checks.
Yeah, and that was nice routing too. Finding so many fairies in bottles.
Oh,
but then you were able to go to the potion shop, actually get a couple potions for Potion Glitch, and be able to do that in preparation of going to Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, I don't know what... I had to do Potion Camera Unlock twice, and I don't know what was up with the way that I was holding the controller, but apparently I had a down input when I was coming out through the into the hellway, or the conveyor room, and went right back into the room and saw it locked, and was like, crap, at least I have a second potion.
Yeah, we saw that too, which was a good thing. Like you said, good thing you had that backup potion, because had you not had that potion, you would have had to wait until like you got the bow until you got back there.
I have a really old Logitech controller. I mean, this thing's like 8 or 9 years old, and the D-pad is on a rocker, so sometimes you could be holding a direction that you didn't realize you were holding.
At least you're getting some good use out of it. Let's just put it real here.
But yeah, I'm surprised actually that I got a win given where mitts were, but I'm glad to have come out on that. And I'm actually surprised too, because I knew my opponent could also have the sword early. It didn't bother me, but just knowing that my opponent didn't have to go through the same same trials that I did was more unfortunate. I would have rather it just been swordless for both of us.
Yeah, it was a pretty wacky seed with Fire Rod being on Colds there, having to do Palace of Darkness, dive in without the bow, and then Ice Rod being in Turtle Rock, of course, and then
Of
Boots
course.
being Big Key being on the torch, but Boots being elsewhere in Ganon's tower. There were a lot of pretty wacky things about this seed, which made it an absolute joy to watch and see how you were able to navigate through.
Yeah, but for anybody out there, like if you ever end up in GT and you don't have boots and you see the key on torch, you just continue clearing the basement. Because one thing to think about, we're always talking about GT big key guessing game. Hey, there's 22 checks in the basement of GT. Well, think about it. There's only 216 locations in the game. 10% of the game is in the basement of Ganon's tower. There's no reason to panic. You just continue clearing the basement and just assume that Boots is now the key.
Yeah, and that's a good mentality to have for something like the GT big key. So other than that, then if you got any final thoughts on this seed, feel free to sound off here.
For the seed, I actually kind of enjoyed the seed. Like I said, with Red Mail and the hammer, the sword wasn't a big problem. I would definitely like to thank you, Professor Renderer and dannymusic, for commentating this race. I would like to thank the Dude Garcia for picking up my race to restream it. I'd like to thank MM2 NES Cartridge for tracking. I would like to thank all of the viewers for watching the seed. And of course, I would like to thank my opponent for giving me a good race. And I think on any day, this race could have gone the other way. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we did our job here. Yeah, like we said, like WGarrison just mentioned. Thank you. Thanks to everyone who's watched this. If you want to give our followers give our crew and our runners a nice hearty follow, please do so. All the information is now on the Discord, is on your chat right now. We have Professor Renderer, myself, dannymusic, and we also have the dude Jere Dudecia playing for our Restreamer, and then we also have MN2 NES Cartridge. Our runners, of course, WGarrison and Ehseezed. And if you are joining us too at the tail end of this, please join our Discord. It is a nice community. We love to have you here. And with that being said, take care, everybody, and I will hope we'll see you on the next match.